Hey, what's up, y'all? So I shot this video on how to support your digestive processes naturally and with supplementation because the majority of my clients that come in here, when they start with me, they usually have some digestive issues, and depending on what symptoms they present, I usually recommend a digestive support protocol. And so a few of them wanted a little bit more explanation about why these are so beneficial, because they experience why it's so beneficial, but they're wondering why is it so beneficial physiologically. So in this video, I go through an optimal, ideal digestive process. And then I also talk a little bit about how to support that naturally and what nutrients to use supplement-wise and what supplements I actually recommend. A couple of caveats or a couple of things that came up afterwards. Is it safe for everyone to take betaine hydrochloric acid? That's one of the nutrients that we talk about here to support upper GI acidity. And I would say most people, yes, especially as adults. As we get older, we lose our capacity to produce hydrochloric acid. So that's usually a beneficial thing. You definitely want to start low dose and work your way up. And the only caveat there would be if you have an ulcer or something exposing the lining of your stomach. That would not be a time to take hydrochloric acid. Okay, you'd want to heal that first. Another question that came up was, how about taking lactate or a lactase supplement for those of us that have dairy issues? I don't think, if you have an intolerance to lactose, I don't think you want to consume dairy and take lactase just so you consume dairy. I don't think that's necessary. All right, if you don't do well with dairy, I'd say avoid it for the most part. But it would be a good experiment to see if lactose is your problem, because some people are sensitive to casein. Very few people weigh, but it would be beneficial to pinpoint what that specific nutrient is that's causing you problems. So what you could do is take some lactate or some lactase with some dairy and see if you notice your symptoms improve. Or on special occasions, say you wanted to go out and have a gluten-free pizza from Dom DeMarco's, well, in their crust they use a little bit of Parmesan cheese. If you wanted to enjoy a pizza, but you know that the cheese aspect of it is going to give you a little bit of problems, you could take a little bit of lactate or lactase with it just so you could enjoy that type of food, okay? So hope you enjoyed this video, and reach out if you have any questions. All right, hey, what's up, y'all? I want to talk today about digestion and digestive support. And so if you're someone that is experiencing digestive difficulties, or you're just looking to optimize digestion, this is going to be for you. And I'm going to do my best to be as brief as I can to explain a good digestive process and what we can do to enhance digestion naturally, but then also make an argument for some supplementation where it's needed, and what type of supplements to look for, what type of nutrients to look for, what to look for in a supplement company. The majority of people that come to work with me initially have digestive issues. It's just part of the deal in eating the standard American diet. And when I was starting my journey back in 2008, I had horrible digestive issues. I took Zantac every day of my life that I can remember, and I had IBS symptoms. My life was basically ruled and dictated by whether I had access to a bathroom or not, and it was pretty sad. And magically, when you start to eat real food, especially the way that we recommend, focused on nutrients and metabolic flexibility, digestive issues seem to clear up, because you're giving your body what it needs to facilitate good digestion. You're eating the right things that it wants to digest. And so a lot of those symptoms tend to clear up, but also supplementation and support can be very useful in that transitional period. And when you really think about what it is that we're doing when we digest, I mean, we're eating real food for nutrients, and since we're eating real food for nutrients, we want to get the most nutrients out of food that we can. And so the stronger our digestion, the better we're assimilating nutrients, and that's what it's really all about, which is why most of us continue to take digestive support even after we've resolved most of our digestive systems. So the first thing I want to do is just talk about an optimal digestive process, what proper digestive function looks like, all right? Now, digestion ideally starts before you ever even consume food, because you're thinking about your meal, you're preparing your meal at home, and in that preparation process, you're smelling it, you're getting excited about it. Most of us are going to salivate. In that salivation process, in your saliva, you have some enzymes that start to break down carbohydrates. And so when you chew your food, those enzymes are mixing with the food. But then also when you think about and smell and prepare your food, that excitement initiates your digestive juices flowing. All right, so that preparation process is very important. And then ideally when you eat your food, when you put it in your mouth, you're chewing it really well. Now, did you know that your stomach and the rest of your digestive system does not have teeth? So the better you chew your food, the better you're pre-digesting your food for the rest of your system. And if you don't chew your food well, then big globules go through your system undigested. And sometimes you even see this in your stool. All right, so chewing your food is very important. And then by the time you've chewed your food and swallowed it, you have this thing that is called a bolus that goes down into your stomach. Now, in your stomach, it's meant to be a very acidic environment, right? You have hydrochloric acid secreted into the stomach. You have this protein digesting enzyme called pepsin secreted into the stomach. And by the way, pepsin is not activated until it hits a low pH or a high acidic level. All right, so pepsin, because otherwise pepsin would digest the stomach as it's coming into the stomach. So it's like inactive, gets into the stomach, and if it's really acidic in there, you're going to have an activation of this protein digesting enzyme. Now, it's important for the stomach to be very acidic because we want to activate pepsin, but also the stomach is the first line of defense against our outside environment. When you think about it, this is one of the few places that external pathogens can get into our system, is through the digestive system. So that strong acidic level also helps us disinfect the stomach and the contents of the stomach. And if we're activating pepsin, then we're digesting these pathogens, which, by the way, they're all protein-based and animal-based. You know, we're talking about parasites and bacteria. And so if we have a strong acidic level, we're activating pepsin and we're digesting these pathogens before they can cause us any problems. Also, that strong acidic level is actually very necessary to tell the rest of the body that the contents of the stomach have been acidified and it's ready to move on to the next step. So this is going to facilitate really good bile flow from the gallbladder, and it's also going to facilitate the pancreas secreting enzymes into the small intestine, and those enzymes help us digest and break down proteins and carbohydrates and fat. Okay, so and also in that acidic environment, we need it to assimilate specific nutrients such as vitamin B12 and folate and some minerals like iron and magnesium and calcium and zinc. And so that acidic level is extremely crucial to assimilate a lot of the nutrients we're trying to get out of food. Now, once it moves into the first part of the small intestine, which is the duodenum, this is where the gallbladder secretes bile. Okay, now the gallbladder holds on to bile, it stores bile. The liver creates bile from toxins and some other nutrients. And you can think about bile as Dawn dishwashing liquid for fats. All right, when the gallbladder, in the presence of fat in the small intestine, the gallbladder squeezes, it squirts bile into the small intestine. That bile mixes with the fat that's in the chyme or the nutrients that came down from the stomach. And when it mixes with that chyme, it helps to break up those fats for easier digestion. Now, also in that first part of the small intestine, the pancreas is secreting some enzymes in there to mix up with all that food to help to break down the proteins and the carbohydrates and the fats. All right, so we have all these different enzymes in there, plus the bile, and all that mixing up of all this stuff helps to break it all apart and also helps to break it down because of the enzyme activity. All right, then that mixture moves into the second part of the small intestine and gets absorbed. Okay, so based on what we just talked about, one thing that you can do to enhance your digestion is eat at home more, because when you eat at home more, you're thinking about your food, you're planning for your food, you're prepping your food, you're smelling your food as it gets cooked, and so you're heating up your digestive system and your digestive processes. Also, something, and it's completely free, chew your food really well. All right, we've heard this all the time, but it really makes sense when you understand anatomy and physiology. If you don't chew your food, you're not digesting that food properly. The more you chew your food, and ideally you're getting it into like a little paste, the better and the easier it is for the rest of the digestive system. All right. Now, based on what we just talked about, I hope this makes sense. The places that we would want to support with supplementation would be the stomach, because we want strong acidity, so we want to supplement acidic activity, and then the gallbladder so that we have really good bile flow, or something that supports good bile flow. And again, remember, bile helps to break up the fat so it's easier to digest. And then the third place we'd want to support is enzymes, because we need those enzymes to break down the proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. Okay? All right, so now that we know the three main areas that we want to support, which include stomach acidity, good bile flow, and then also enzyme activity, let's talk about the specific nutrients that we'd want. So for stomach acidity, we're looking for betaine hydrochloric acid. This is a supplemental form of hydrochloric acid. You want to start in small doses and work your way up. We have a dosing protocol, but this is going to be very strong and very potent, which is what you want. A holistic remedy might be to consume some apple cider vinegar with or before meals, and that can be useful, but it's not as powerful. For bile flow, remember, for bile that goes into the small intestine and helps to break up the fats, we're looking for beet juice concentrate. All right, you can consume beets on a regular basis. That can be very helpful, but again, not as powerful as beet juice concentrate. And then it's also helpful to consume some things that support bile flow, like vitamin C and taurine. And then for enzyme activity, the specific enzymes we're looking for are protein digesting enzymes such as pepsin we mentioned before, bromelain, papain. Those are all very useful protein digesting enzymes. For carbohydrates, we're looking for cellulase and amylase. I mentioned before that when you start to salivate, you may have some carbohydrate digesting enzymes in your saliva called salivary amylase, but that's a very bio-individual thing and very genetic driven. And so it's useful to supplement with cellulase and amylase. And then for fats, we're looking for lipase, and there's a lot of different lipases that we can use. Okay, so those are the main nutrients we're looking for. And so if you're at the grocery store or a discount store, shopping for nutrients or digestive support, you could look for betaine hydrochloric acid, beet juice concentrate, and then a bunch of these different enzymes that we mentioned, and I have a list of those for you. All right, now the big question is, what are the supplements to buy and where do you get them? All right, so there's a lot of different supplement brands and companies out there. If you go to a grocery store or a health food store or shop on Amazon, like, how do you know what to get? Well, we already talked about the nutrients to get, so now let's talk about some quality issues. So I like to work through therapeutic lines whenever possible. There are supplements that I recommend my clients get on Amazon. It depends on what they are. But when possible, I try to offer them through a supplemental therapeutic line. Now, therapeutic basically means that they're working through practitioners and doctors. And because they don't have the volume of some of these discount stores, they have to have a really high efficacy, or they have to get really good results. And their purity and potency is completely different from some of these other discount supplements. One of my favorites is Biotics Research, because Biotics Research, I've toured their facility. I've used Apex Energetics and Standard Process. I love Biotics because they test for purity and potency when they first get their nutrients in. They test during the creation process, and they test post-creation. They even go through these crazy experiments where they'll ship their supplements across country during the heat of the summer and then test for potency afterwards to see how that affects them. Also, what I love about Biotics is a lot of supplements will use tableting bases to create their supplements that are not digestible. They're very inexpensive fillers. Biotics created this way to create a tableting base that was real food base, that is created from superoxide dismutase and also from catalase, which are both antioxidants that the body creates that are very, very useful. So when you're consuming the nutrients from a company like Biotics, you're getting other nutrients that are very useful, right? Biotics actually acquired the biomedical component of a pharmaceutical company to help them create some of this stuff. So they're like the perfect blend of modern research combined with ancestry. And another thing I love about Biotics is whenever possible, they emulsify their fat-soluble nutrients, which means basically the fat-soluble nutrients are packaged with some fat to help with assimilation. They're almost pre-digested. A lot of their minerals are actually chelated with vegetables to help with absorption. And then they also use glandulars, which are basically organs. And I love organ therapy. I think it's so powerful. They're one of the few companies out there that support organ therapy. And their organs are sourced from pristine fetuses that are stillborn that would otherwise get discarded. And so the organs from those pristine fetuses, bovine fetuses, by the way, are not aged. They don't have any toxins associated with them. So a really, really great company. I love offering it whenever I can. And there's a few products that I recommend from Biotics. So if you're not out there sourcing it on your own, by the way, if you source it through me, I'm going to help you with your dosing protocol, and all my products are very fresh because I get it straight from their warehouse. But you can source it wherever the heck you want, all right? So what I love, number one, to support stomach acidity is their product called Hydrozyme. It's a low-dose HCl product. It's got betaine hydrochloric acid in it. It's got pancreatin and also pepsin to help with protein digestion. And again, we have a dosing protocol that we use with this, but a very, very high-quality product. I'd say this is the number one product of the SHT. Like, people come in here constipation, diarrhea, heartburn, and it just seems to be a fix-all. It's really, really great. Another great product is beta TCP. So this is their bile support product. This has beet juice concentrate, it's got pancreolipase, it's got superoxide dismutase, taurine, and vitamin C, which all support healthy bile flow. That second area that we want to support, all right? And then the third one to kind of triple off this powerhouse of supplements here is going to be bromelain plus CLA. And the CLA stands for cellulase, lipase, and amylase. But bromelain, like we mentioned before, is a protein digesting enzyme. Also containing here we have papain, we have a little bit of pepsin, so all of those support protein digestion. And then we have cellulase and amylase, which help to break down carbohydrates, and we also have some lipase in there to break down fats. And if you combine these three together, you are supporting strong stomach acidity, which is very necessary. You're supporting healthy, robust bile flow, which is good for digesting fats, and then you're giving yourself all the enzymes that you need to digest those different macronutrients, the proteins and the carbohydrates and the fats, okay? So again, I have a list of the different nutrients that you would like to look for in a product, and then also I offer these products through my private practice. I do drop shipping all the time to clients that don't live here near me. I also support them with dosing protocols and monitor their progress with it. So if you have any questions or you'd like to look into something like that, please feel free to reach out to me. Otherwise, big free take-home takeaways, prep your food at home whenever possible, chew your food really well, and then maybe look for some of these nutrients at your mainstream grocery stores, but I think the quality is going to be much better through a therapeutic line. All right? I hope that's useful. We'll talk to y'all soon.